So if you look at the original Tattvabodha, these are the 5 major, let's say, chapters or the journey in Tattvabodha. Who is eligible? Adhikari. Then how to discriminate, Atma Tattva Viveka. How to discriminate about the self. Then Jagat ki Utpatti, about the origin of the world. Then the oneness of the Jiva and Brahma, and qualities and what is meant to be liberated. So essentially, it is about who am I, what is my connection to rest of the world, what is this world really, and what is my connection to rest of the world, and what is my connection to Paramatman. So Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. So that oneness is what is the fundamental focus of Tattvabodha and what it really means to be liberated. And in this journey, we so far have gone through the Adhikari and the Atma Tattva Viveka, again aided by Prabhuji's talks. So though there is this original text, all of you also have been shared the original text. Along with the original text, we have been listening to Prabhuji's talks, and we have been contemplating about the questions from the videos in our journey so far. And for each of our contemplation session, we also have been creating some visual aids, and that is what this deck is all about. And we have collected certain questions regarding each of the session, and we have put them all together here. So today, what we can do is, we can maybe take up either question by question. Each one of you can share, your quick understanding, or maybe it can be each one of you is given an opportunity. You can present your understanding so far completely, and then we move on to the next person. What might be a right way? Any suggestions?
Let's go one question at a time. Like whoever wants to present, I think we can give them the chance.
Okay, so we'll take one question and one person will share. If anybody else has anything to add, they will add. Otherwise, we'll go to the next question.
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, so that everybody gets to talk. Yeah.
Okay. Is that acceptable and okay with everybody else? Padma ji, Prakash ji, Priya ji, Varun ji.
Yes, Vijay ji. It's fine.
Yes, Vijay ji.
All right, wonderful. Then let us begin from what we understand. I don't think we had a very clear questions for the first one, the Adhikari chapter. So we did not necessarily create clear questions there. Then onwards we started creating questions. So therefore, what I would suggest is, I'll bring up this slide. So let's maybe whoever likes to explain this, what you understand from the fourfold qualifications necessary for liberation. What is the clarity you've got from this? And Varunji, you can also participate, depending upon the videos that you have seen. Please share your views also.
Shall I start, Vijay ji?
Yes, Priya ji.
Okay. The fourfold qualification to attain the liberation, we are mentioning it as Viveka or discrimination, and then Vairagya and Shat Sampadis, and then is Mumukshatva. Discrimination, that is Viveka, when we come into this topic, Like we should have the capacity or the intelligence to discriminate about nitya, anitya objects, satya, mithya, those concepts. So whenever we are attached to the materialistics, everything is anitya. Only Brahman, the supreme, this thing is satya, and only the existence, like I concept there. When we have that discrimination, then the agitation in the mind will not be there. So what the Prabhuji tells is, we will be mixing the anitya and nitya concepts together. That is why the stress or agitation in the mind will be there. That makes us unhappy. So ultimate goal is to become have a wonderful bliss. That is Ananda. Satyachit Ananda, the concepts, it will come over there. So there only the intelligence is required to discriminate. That is Anitya and Nitya discrimination is there. Then second one is Vairagya, that is detachment. Why it is required? See, for whenever we see few things, we will be attached to it. One has got a car, I want to have a car. Or one has got 2 apartments, I want to have. So these attachments are materialistics, or whatever the Maya around the world in these things makes us more attached to the materialistic lives. So more and more we get, more and more unhappiness also is getting developed along with that. So once we understand that every other than the Brahma, other than me, what is inside this, it is only the permanent one. The rest, everything is Anitya. Once we understand this, we should be detached to all these things. So otherwise, the mind will always be carving for the everything, whatever the things we see around that. That is to attain again, to get the happiness and go towards the self this thing. So again, Vairagya is required. So why all this required is to know, is only to understand our essential nature. Who am I? That is required. Okay, to do this, we need some instruments. That is the Shat Sampadis, where he tells that Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, Titiksha, Samadhana. So those Shat Sampadis, we have to, these are the tools to understand the Viveka and how to come over of this Vairagya. Those things they'll explain this. And Mumukshatva, one who is interested in getting moksha, or who is in the path of getting the moksha, is called mumukshuhu. So that is the desire for liberation. Okay. So these things, when we have this, we can attain the Sachidananda Swarupi. The person will become Sachidananda Swarupi. That is the fourfold qualification, I guess.
Wonderful, Priyaji. Very nicely put. Does anybody like to add any further points before we go to the next one?
Vijay, I had a couple of points.
Yeah.
The first point I want to make is Prabhuji was mentioning that Vairagya is not just like distaste for the world out of like disgust out of like from some kind of a depression. It should be from the Viveka. Like you should understand the Nitya and then develop Vairagya. If you're just like sad in the world, that's not the Vairagya that we speak of. That's just a psychological depression. So it should be based on the Nitya and Anitya.
Correct.
Then the Mumukshatva is not just a desire for liberation. It should be readiness to drop all the Anitya and Asatya. It's not just like I want to be liberated, but it should be clearly that I want to drop everything that is not real. That is the real Mumukshatva. Your willingness to drop.
Correct. And again, the willingness to drop, like you already said, is not necessarily in terms of giving them up physically, in having inner clarity that is Anitya. Very nice. Wonderful, Varunji. So who would like to take up this slide? Again, this is the slides are done based on Prabhuji's talks. So what do you understand from here?
Sir, I'll take this.
Yes, Padmaji.
Yeah, so as Priyaji was mentioning, this is one of the part of Vairagya itself, where you discriminate first in Viveka as to what is real, what is unreal, what is changing and what is unchanging. When we discriminate in this way, what happens is we get clarity in our day-to-day life as well. Because what is changing is something that we do every day, like any action, whether it is in our personal life or whether it is in work front or wherever it is, we do something in order to get something. And this thing arises, I think, due to some lack of happiness within us, which we are trying to search all the time. And our search leads to something which is material, and we start collecting things or name, fame, whatever it is for individual people to get to that happiness or that state of bliss, which is our true self. But in that, what we don't realize is what we are going after is something changing constantly, probably many times in a day or over a few days. It's constantly changing, and then we never get to that state where the true happiness is always there. So this recognition is something which comes from the discrimination, that why am I doing this, what is the goal, why I should be doing this. So there are different goals for different people. It could be for me, it could be my son's education. So we get into that loop of, first it starts with us, then we associate it with our family, then we want to get some property or whatever. It goes on, the cycle goes on and on. So when we have the discrimination that these are just temporary things which are giving us temporary happiness, then we start looking for the purpose of our life. And the real purpose is true happiness, which is only there in the self, and you don't need to do anything to get that. That is something that which you will arrive once you understand what is changing and what is unchanging. Because the unchanging actually doesn't need to do anything to be happy, or doesn't need to be satisfied in any way. So essentially, I feel that when we talk about detachment, and like Varunji also mentioned about letting go, really it is all about letting go of the ego that takes the credit for all this, and which is in the way of us discovering our true self.
Very nice, Padmaji. I think connected to that slide is this. So maybe you can only explain this also before we move to the next one.
Yeah. So as we go into this, the best part is, okay, if I have to quote it in terms of an example, what would be is the changing us or the changing me is something which the world can see very clearly, something which I also interact with the world, that is all changing. For example, if I take my gross body, or that is something which everybody can see, which I use for a transaction purpose. And even that is changing every day. From morning to night, it could change, or from one day to another, it could change. But the unchanging, the witness who's seeing all this, is the real I. And that witness doesn't need anything to be happy. And if we are able in any situation, whether our experience is ever from it is sad or happiness or whatever, but if we step back and see it as something which is passing by, or it is not actually happening, it is not real, I think we get more clarity on how to react to those situations and take action, necessary action, rather than reacting. So that is something which I have started experiencing in my life, because yes, it is not always constant when we are able to do that. But if we constantly keep reminding ourselves that we are not this, or we are not in this situation, this is just going to pass, because everything is anyway changing, I think it gives a better clarity on what kind of decisions we need to take on a day-to-day basis in various situations of our life, wherever we are.
Excellent. Very nice, Padmaji. Does anybody have anything to add based on what Padmaji narrated from these two?
One point I would like to add from my personal experience, Vijayji.
Yes.
Like we are the witness. That is the word what always reminds me. Okay, so till few years we will be thinking that everything we are only doing. We are only doing everything, and I should monitor everything. That is what the idea we will be having. Once we are once we are communicating with the kids or with the outer side, so sometimes the question arises, why you are monitoring all these things, and who are you to tell all these things? Such questions arise. So that time we will understand, yes, so who am I? So what is my role? So only thing is I am witnesser. I should witness the things like this. So this discrimination, this Viveka Tattva made me, so few times when I argue with my kids or this thing, so when they tell, no, why you are telling all this, why you are monitoring, who are you? Such questions really arise with the things. So I was thinking, yes, who am I? Why they are telling like this? So this discrimination made me to think very well. Then I was not worrying also, no, they let me witness, let us do that. So let me think what they'll do. Then let me give my decision regarding this. So this Viveka Tattva helping me at least to be the thoughts, whatever the thoughts going in my mind, no. So at least for few moments, it can be calm in that way.
Wonderful. Very nice.
Does that mean have you stopped telling them what they should do or they should not do?
No. I will tell, but I'm not poking for each and everything now. Like, see what happens for a few days, like they will be in adolescent age also, no, like 18, 15, they'll come. They too have their priorities in taking the decision part. So at least for example, I'll tell, for 6 or 8 years, we start deciding about our kids' dress. When it comes to when they attain 10th year, they'll tell that no, I want red color or blue color, or I don't like what the dress you bring, whatever the dress you get it. So you just you take me to the shop, I will buy. So from that age, we start giving up. So there, okay, you decide, I don't know what you wear. Okay, so bag, it can be bag or the book or the dress. Then what happens is to their decision. Sometimes I tell that no, you join for maths class. Maths is very important. You join for science class. No, he tells no, I want only English class. I am interested in this. No, you go for this. So there everything we cannot make them. So they too have they too have their vasanas. So this purva krita, this thing will be there. So we cannot burden or we cannot make them to have our own wishes on them. So let it come out. So let be the witness what is there. Like we too also understand what is their self essential nature, no. So when we give space for them, it really help out for them and for us also. So like where is the capacity for them, where they can shine. So such things is really helping me out in getting the things. So small example is I am telling my son to go for abacus. You does the mathematics very fast. You forgo abacus. So first few weeks he went. Then it comes to the same practice things. He is not interested. He is interested in English. So he tells no, I don't like this because you engage me. I am going for the class. See, that is where I am stressing him. No, so you are telling you put me the class. I am going for the class. I am not interested in abacus. So that if I even without telling he is interested in English class. If it is 6 o'clock, he log in at 5:50 and be ready for the class. So what is the essential nature? So I will be the witness, and what is there inside him, it is coming out, right? So such things we can really understand. That is one example. really we can, it is not that we should give the way for everything. We should give space. That is the thing where it gives the harmony between both of us.
Frankly, I think after 2 years, I still feel I have not crossed that state. I do see that when it comes to kids, have very strong likes and dislikes on what they do, and while I try to be conscious, but I feel that I still keep commenting on what they should not be doing, or like there are many times that it does bother me. Let's say, for example, because pre-COVID, the kids were like not exposed to media completely.
Correct.
Zero TV, zero mobiles, zero computer. And the last 2 years, it slowly started. And like, because I had to do my work in the daytime, and they were not able to go out, I had to give them freedom. And now they have reached a state wherein like, get up straight, they get into video game. They
Correct.
start, right? And then like every minute they get between the class break, they get into the game. And it just, and I kept saying, and I felt like they will get bored at some time, but it just goes on and on. And I have still not reached that same stage of like seeing that and saying, okay, good, I have no comments. It just comes out of me. And at the later, I do see that like it does affect me, right? But me in the sense, my mental state, my body, but I'm still confused on like, just let them do play what they like. And like, see, the reason why I do comment is because I feel like I have to tell them what is right, and yeah, so that's why I asked.
No, Saravanan, you are right. It is not only you are facing this problem. Even I am also facing this. Regarding this, I spoke to Vijay ji. That to 1.5 years back, I guess, if I remember. See, what happens is, in whatever you are thinking in that part, obviously we should monitor them. Video gaming is not a thing. So what I advise him regarding this, whatever the quiz it might be there, or Olympiad might be there, that you do, or you limit the time set. Otherwise, I'm very strict in taking out the remote or disconnecting the Android instrument or whatever, or taking out the laptop. In that part, I'm very clear. So those decisions, of course, we have to make them, because now we are guiding them to go in a path. If we don't teach them, who else will teach them? That is, you are true. You are doing
Why do you think you have to guide them? I just know you said like you should be witness,
no,
and
see,
they have their
right
own
path.
path.
No, yeah, the good things within them, we should bring them. And whatever the bad qualities are there, we have to punish them in their thing. That is the path. Simply, we cannot leave them also, right? Yes, it is there. The good things, whatever it is there, the religious part, that also, the being a parent role, it is our part of work to shine, let it shine, let it this thing. But bad qualities, yes, we have to suppress. Otherwise, another Duryodhana or Kamsa will be, that attitude will bring in that nature.
So witness, I think, we need to understand what is witness really mean. Witness doesn't mean that, you're inert to events of life. Witness means that you are unaffected by events of life. Witness doesn't mean that, through you actions won't happen. Witness means that you are watching the actions also happen. What actions? What is appropriate in the given circumstance? Rightly said by Priyaji, if the child is watching the television for a longer time, as a parent role, you have to stop it. There is no two ways. Or find out ways of channelizing that into a constructive activity. At the end of the day, any child, like any other, even an adult mind, gets connected to something where, it finds that purpose and sense of excitement. So how to create that is the real question. Once when the sense of excitement is created in any activity, the child will naturally drift towards that. And we have to enable the child to look at alternatives, realize the pitfalls in any kind of one-sided activity. So it's a constant Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, like how we do in self-study. Even that is a self-study. If I constantly expose my mind to, let's say, some television show where there is a lot of violence, that will start creating deeper impressions in me. And when will I come out of that? Only when I realize that it is I who is putting the seeds of all that in this mind, and that will manifest. So then I have to enable right kind of information to go and help discriminate that this is the wrong information. This can eventually lead to a destructive result. So I have to be educated on that. So therefore, witness does not mean that I do not act. Witness means that the ego, which was trying to claim ownership and then become upset when the due result did not happen, that ego now is no more affected. That ego is able to, like Priyaji said, give space to the child also. Rather than instructing and curtailing, there is more of a collaboration. Okay, can you find out what are the ill effects of doing what you're doing? And can we have alternatives? It's a more of a, it starts becoming easy. The ego is no more going to affect you, but you'll continue to act in the world. You cannot stop acting in the world. Just because a witness, you are a witness, doesn't mean that, okay, in front of me some murder is happening, I'll let it happen. In front of me some wrong, let's say, usage of tools is happening, I'll let it happen. No, never. It is never meant like that. So I think the distinction has to be in what does witness conscious really mean? It means that you are none of the changing. Even the behavior pattern of the children is changing. Please notice that. It is not that they'll constantly be addicted to something. As long as the right kind of information is given, they also grow out of it. Maybe when they were 2 years old, they liked some kind of say train. I remember, my son used to be loving all this train related rhymes and some Bob the Builder kind of rhymes. He grew out of it. Then, from 3rd and 4th year onwards, very much into building blocks. He grew out of it. But then as parents, we also had to keep creating opportunities in the environment to find other things. So as a witness, I can then be open to look at what are the ways by which I can create opportunities. How can I be a facilitator than an arbitrator? So like that, as a witness, I have no affiliation to, okay, parenthood means this way only. As a witness, I have the liberty to look at all alternatives and to see what may work the best that will create the right harmony between me and the child. Because not always you can take the stick. Not always you can have the carrot. How to use a combination? Because as a witness, really what is flowing through you? What is flowing through you is the universal instructions. So when something bad is happening in front of you, how can you say that, no, I'm just a witness? When I use the word bad, what I mean, when you know that, the eventual fruit of that particular series of actions is going to lead to a destructive result. You see a child going towards fire and putting its hand. Can you be a witness saying that, no, let the child burn and learn by itself? Maybe if it is a very, very mild fire, you may choose to do that.
So Vijay, maybe I'm connecting too many things and trying to figure out. We keep saying that all major events are predetermined, or major, minor, everything. And everyone will go through their prarabdha karma. And when that's so, does it really matter like how I will will I be able to influence at all? Is there any influence at all from me, whether I
Therefore, we
say
need to be
something or
clear.
not?
Two things we need to be clear. The arrow that's been shot, that there is no way to stop. But in this moment, do I want to shoot an arrow? That choice is still given to you. So please realize, right now, whether to participate in this satsanga or not is a choice you have. Now, based on whatever that has already been done, certain results are already showing up. That I have to accept. So the karma, predetermination of karma, is not to say I am inert, is to say, whatever is happening in my life is all due to whatever something that's been done. So now no more there is a baggage in the mind about, ayo, why am I suffering like this? I wish only if I was born in this condition. Look at them, they're so nice. Look at me. All that can be dropped with the clarity that it's been done sometime. Somewhere, the chili seed has been put. Now the chili fruit is coming. Okay, who put? Somewhere in my past action I put. So now that gives me that peace of mind to accept what is coming into my life. That is the first thing. But now, do I want to again continue to put chili seed when I become aware? Whatever was done was in unawareness. But now whatever the fruit is coming, I cannot reject it. Okay, it has to be accepted. So karma theory helps me to accept that. But now, do I continue to want to put chili seed? Again, it's a choice. Do I want to grow chili? Then I have to put chili seed. I want to grow mango, then let me put mango seed. That is still a choice at this point of time. Even coming to satsang is a choice. You could as well just go and watch some Netflix at this point of time. What have you chosen to do? Based on that, your life circumstances start changing. So predetermined does not necessarily mean that there is no choice to be made at this point of time. At this point of time, you still have to act. Are you acting with the attitude of ownership that I am the doer? Then make sure that you are aware that you are the one who's putting the seed. So as long as the ownership is there, as long as the doership is there, then the karma theory is, look, it's you who put that seed back then. And now look, it's you who's putting the seed. So be aware of what seed you are putting. So for that doer, I am the doer, that karma is still valid. And as you evolve and as you examine that, and as you become an instrument of the divine, then where is the problem with the karma? Whether it is predetermined or whether you are acting in the moment. Because nothing then really can bind you. Is this distinction clear? So for the yogi, the karma theory is given so that the yogi can purify the mind. But that doesn't mean that, yogi can remain inert, that, I'll not act. Everything is predetermined. Let whatever is happening, let it happen.
Because what happens is, see, all these what we are learning here and the practices I'm trying to apply to myself. Okay, and I feel, or this is what I'm learning, that I am the real self, and what I see is I'm seeing it through colored eyes, my mind, right? Colored mind. And maybe then, like, all that is needed is only um, perfecting my own understanding, understanding of the self, and everything else is already perfect. I don't have to, so it's just that, like, why should I be having this likes and dislikes of, like, this is what should be doing, this is what is right, this is not right, right? That itself,
Again, like
it
and
comes.
dislike, no, Saravananji. See, now, let's take a simple situation. Let's say a child is going towards fire, and child is about to put the hand in the fire. It's not a question of like or dislike. It's a question of you are seeing the consequence because you are aware, and the child is not yet aware. Would you stop it or not stop it?
Naturally you will do that.
Correct. So whatever is that natural feeling, that you need to hone. See, likes and dislikes are judgments.
Mhm.
For example, going to A, B, C, D kind of a school is the right. Going to some other XYZ kind of a school is not right. Now that's a judgment that is already there in my mind. Maybe because of some certain preconceived notions. Maybe I have not examined them properly. So likes and dislikes are set in that context, not in the context of the action at this moment. In this moment, the child is putting the hand into the fire. It's my duty to ensure that the child is protected. The child is crying with hunger. It is my duty to provide the food. The child is having a pain. It is my duty to console the child. So there is no doubt about it. Or do I like doing it? Do I dislike doing it? No. This is pure, your innate feeling. You act. It's like, all these discussion is moot when, let's say, your daughter falls and comes and crying. You naturally act. There is no thinking there. So that we need to distinguish from the likes and the dislikes. Likes and the dislikes are pre-built decisions in our mind based on certain pre-built information. So become aware of what is the conditioning that is driving that likes and dislikes. So I have to look at whether my conditioning is correct. Is the thought process about ABC is better than the XYZ is correct? On what facts? Okay, maybe do I need to re-examine that? So be non-judgmental means be open to examine without any bias of the conditioning. Because the strong likes and strong dislikes are because of the conditioning. So here the truth is, be aware of the conditioning and be willing to examine the conditioning. But at any point of time, you act. And in that point of, in that given situation, whatever is the best possible action that is possible by you, you do that. At the end of the day, I put the chili seed back then. I did not know it's a chili seed, isn't it? I did it. Now, when it comes back to me, imagine, I am playing a let's say, some kind of a jugglery with stones, and I threw one stone a little higher, and I forgot about throwing that, and I'm still standing, it comes and falls on my head. Can I cry? No, I cannot cry. I just have to recall that, it's I who did it. Okay, maybe I should have been more protective. Now that I've become aware, what kind of seeds am I putting? But whatever I put. Done deal. Is this distinction bringing clarity, or still there are questions?
I think I will come back again in some other time.
Sir,
Yes, Padmaji.
I would like to add something. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible now.
Yeah. So I remember when we had that session with Prabhuji, I think Saravananji had put a question similar at that time, that do we really have a free will or free choice? Am I right, Saravananji? I think
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
your question
yeah.
only.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that day till that time, even I had that question somewhere at the back of my mind always, because I've gone through some experiences where I felt that it is not my, how do I say it? Like, it is not my choice. Neither have I experienced something before or done before or something happened to me before, because of which it has to happen right now, whatever was happening. Okay. So so okay, then if it is not something that you can recollect in this lifetime, or even your parents cannot recognize or recollect it, then it could be something related to some other lifetime, probably past lifetime. But definitely it was affecting my day-to-day things that are happening in my present lifetime, or present day also, you can say, like present day it's affecting me. So now there are two things. Okay, one is the thought. For example, when I go through that experience, I am not interested in anything else, in the sense that I don't care, like I don't want to care. I mean, I'm in so much pain that I don't want to care about what is going on around me. Or rather, I would say that the pain is so much that I am not able to physically concentrate rather on anything. But I have also found that in that moments of pain, where I have probably let gone of everything that I am wanting to control as a mother, or as a wife, or as someone who is taking care of my household. Okay, so those are the days that I completely let go of. Okay, what is happening, let it happen, because right now I am not in a right frame of mind. I am not probably physically in 100% of my health. So anyway, I'm not able to contribute. So just let it happen. Whatever happens, let it happen. And then I have observed that with passing time, I have observed that on these days, what actually happens is, you are a kind of witness without actually even being able to recognize yourself as a self, but you are witnessing because you have no control. You are not doing much. Okay, as far as very, very necessary things only you would be doing at that time, because first of all, you don't have the physical energy, and second, probably you're not even able to think straight because there is something running in the background. So what I find is, those days are also pretty much okay. They are not so bad if I compare it to the day that I have been, in a probably controlling mode, or probably in a very good state of physical health, to what happens on that day. There is not a huge difference. I cannot rate those days as 100 and this day as 0. It is somewhere between 70 to 80. So then after a while, I started asking questions to myself, that why am I not okay with that 70 or 80 on a regular basis? Then probably that pain wouldn't come at all. That is one question that I put, because
Going back to accepting the
whatever happens, whatever pain I'm expressing, if I go to the doctor, he will always say, let go of stress. That is a different kind of statement that he would put. because anyway I am doing certain things that I'm supposed to do. For example, whatever it is, medication or exercise, whatever I have been prescribed, I am doing it. So if I am not doing that, then probably I can associate it with it. But if I am doing that regularly, then something in my thought process or something that, every day I am forcing myself to do, even though maybe I am not able to do it, or maybe I need help, I'm not asking for help, or maybe, somewhere I feel that I have set a certain boundary for myself that this is my best, or every day I have to achieve that best. So maybe that is the one that is causing that, 70 to 80 to 100, that struggle and every day. And then probably the result of that is coming back to me once in a week or maybe once in 15 days, that pain where I completely have to let go. But I have observed that completely letting go of that control is also giving me back some control on myself. Because ultimately, if I am not to my best, what can I do for anybody else is something that I started questioning very early on. So I think, like sir also said, that in some things we don't have a choice. For example, that pain, probably I don't have a choice because it is a result of something that has happened long back, like the seed it is, which has been sowed somewhere. But how I suffer for it now, or what I do about it now, is the choice or is the free will that I have, I think. So that kind of helps. So I can now, this is about health, okay, that is a different topic. But if I go back to the subject of children, like how Priyaji said, or how we all are having children of different age groups, and they might be going through different problems, different situations, and lot of times, like sir also mentioned now, video gaming. Okay, I also have a son, so although he does all this Gita and all these classes and I lead and everything, but still there are certain times when I feel that I can't control him, or probably he's sitting in the because most of their things are online. So many times teachers also share materials like in the form of a PDF, or they have posted it to the classroom, or it's in the drive, and he's watching the screen, right? So what happens is, sometimes when you come in, you intuitively know that there has been a switch in the tab, or something has happened where probably he's playing games with his friends. And what happens is they get distracted on and off. It's a continuous online class. So although there are certain things, so you have that as a parent, you're always kind of, I think there is a little bit of worry in the back of the head that, is he playing a game now, or is he really reading the material that he's saying he's reading? You always have that at the back of the head, because you have seen that it is not a very healthy thing if it is like continuing, and if it becomes an addiction. And definitely it's not going to be easy to correct it at that point of time. When it becomes an addiction, it's not going to be easy. Right now it could be a bit easier if we catch it in the beginning stage. So I don't think that, like sir said, that we don't have to take action. Yes, but yeah, the way we take action is again our choice, is I feel. For example, at that point when we are angry, and it is obvious to be angry, I mean, it's not bad that we shouldn't be angry. So we get angry, but how we express ourselves in that moment is, I think, something which we have control over. Yes, there are some moments where we might lose control, and then what discrimination, what viveka, let me just say my mind out. That also happens occasionally. Not that it doesn't happen, but I believe that we are all a work in progress. That's why I feel like that. Me and my husband, even my son, all of us are in work in progress constantly. So I think, yeah, but one thing what I feel is, like sir said, being a witness doesn't necessarily mean that you just sit back and
so the
look
thing is,
it
yeah.
in action. Yeah,
So see, if you take putting
that is
hand in the
one thing I
fire,
feel.
so there are situations where
Yeah, you
I
have
will
no
react.
choice.
I will
Correct.
react. Okay, there is not much thinking going on. But then there are a lot of situations which are not as close to putting hand in the fire. But the reason why I react is because of my own impressions of, okay, if someone does this, then they can become this or this, right? So
Correct.
that is where I've been like constantly trying to work on myself, saying like, why don't I accept things as is? It's changing, right? It is today. Maybe tomorrow the things will change. Accept as is, or like say something, but then do not expect immediate result. When they don't see the result, that is what turns out as anger, right? Or like getting frustration, saying, "Oh, okay, things are not." The ego comes up and say, like, "No, what? You cannot control this. What are you talking about?" Right? So,
Mm.
that
Yeah,
that's
but
where
I find it one thing. Yeah, sorry. Go, please go ahead.
no, so I don't know where it started or how it started, but yeah, that's where I'm like constantly trying to work on myself to take the external things as is. When I say external, even including everyone, my family, like not just like the world. The world, forget it. Anyway, I don't have that much influence. Even where I feel there is influence, I'm trying to. I don't know, like if it's right or wrong, but I'm trying to tell myself that they have come for a reason and they will do it. And like where I can, the maximum I can do is maybe put a thought, saying, put a word, but then like how the other person will react, what they will do, I'm telling myself based on what I'm learning that it's their prarabdha karma, they will go through it. Okay, but I should not be tying myself to the outcome, saying that, oh, because I said, I told, or like I was able to do, they got a good score now, or like they didn't because like I was not like good enough to influence them or like tell them what they should be doing. And that's what I'm trying to uh, pull myself away.
Okay, I want to share one thing again. It's from my personal life, but I don't mind because I feel that that was actually my starting point. I feel where really started questioning things and the way things go. If I look back at my entire childhood, I feel that I have been an exceptionally good student academically. Like my grades would never go below 4 or 5 in the class, top 5 or top 4 in the class. And I did choose science stream after my 10th grade. And since I was in Maharashtra, we go to junior colleges. It's not like uh, it was not part of my schooling system. So with all the changes that came, and then usually, you run from class to tuitions for each of your three major science subjects. And that's how the learning happened during that time also. So biology was one of my favorite subjects, so I was thinking of pursuing my education in that field. So what happened is I had a very close friend of mine, and I can say she was also my school friend. So what happened is, now this girl was also very good in studies, top 5 again along with me, but she was in a different section. So but she was my very good friend, and we used to go to the same bio and chemistry tuitions. So all the I mean, we were nearing our 12th exams. We were doing pretty well in all the mocks that were conducted by the class and everything. And she would always excel in bio. Her parents, both her parents were doctors, and they were not from this, they did not belong to this to Nagpur where I was educated. So they were near some other city nearby Nagpur, but they had put her in a hostel where she can stay here and study for the tuitions and other stuff. So every day she would come and we'll go together. So those are the routine things. And what happened is, during our exam, our 12th board started. And there is an expectation from the tuition class also, depending upon your performance, that who would reach where, that sort of thing, right? So she was always expected to excel in bio and all that. And after that, what happened, the bio paper happened first, and the next, I think the next paper was physics, and we had a 1 day off or something, 1 day off, I think in between Saturday, Sunday, something like that. So this child, we gave the bio paper, and then in those days in that hostel, she wouldn't have phone. So unless and I meet her the next day, we wouldn't know, like, because we both had separate centers. So what happened is, on Saturday morning, her mother called me, and she said that, I'm calling from hospital. I've come to Nagpur, and yesterday night she took sleeping pills, and we are at the hospital, and she's admitted. So it was a major shock to me, because I never ever thought in that 4-5 years of interacting with her that she was depressed or anything. Why would somebody be like that, who's scoring well, who's top 5 all the time? And there was no way that she would have done her bio exam so bad that she had to do that. This was my thought process as a student, because beyond that I couldn't think anything else, and she didn't have her parents around, so we didn't know of anything else. So then her mother asked me, like, is she doing well academically? Why did she do this? Even they were trying to get answers to certain questions, and I was also clueless. Then because they were doctors, and although it's not a situation which is very favorable, there would be other police case and all that. So her parents got her discharged, and they came back home on Sunday. She got discharged because they gave her something to drink, and she was well. So on Sunday they came back to home, and I was, and in all this, what happened is, I got really, like, I started thinking about that, and I am not focusing on my next exam. Okay, because the next exam is physics, and my mind is constantly drifting to this child, that why did she do that, what happened so wrong, and all that. And I was very close to her day to day, so I was feeling all lost. And then what happened, Sunday, this child again, with the when she went to the restroom, she again consumed sleeping pills, and she passed away actually on Sunday. And Sunday afternoon, I got that news. And I mean, the next day I did attend my physics paper, but I'll tell you, Saravanan-ji, I just went there and I was just blank for the first 1.5 hours. I did not write one single word on that paper, because all the time I was thinking, like, what went so wrong that she had to take such a big step. She had a younger brother also, and I was feeling so bad for the parents who were kind of trying to figure out what went wrong with her. And after even doing it once, she again did it. So I didn't know what to think. And I'll tell you, like, after that, I didn't get a very good score in physics to go into a very wanted, whatever I wanted to do with bio, I couldn't do that. And physics, I didn't get very good marks in physics, because the last half an hour I got my act together and I started writing. But again, then there are blocks where you can't remember things clearly. And it so happened, and then after the exam, I came home, and I told my dad that I am not going to pursue science after 12th. So my father said, it's okay, we don't think that you should go only do this. You can take science, even if you have got less in physics, you can do biochemistry, microbiology. I don't know, he tried to say so many things to me. Okay, but I got so put off by that whole thing and that competitiveness, that I said, I don't want to do science. I couldn't even see that why am I hating science, because it was nothing to do with science. But that was the only understanding I had for myself at that point. That even my dad sitting me down and explaining to me that it doesn't matter to us, you can take microbiology, there are so many fields, he explained at that time, or you could take up teaching. I just didn't want to listen, because my mind was just shut off to the whole science thing, because somewhere I felt that that race to get there, what she wanted, and because she couldn't perform well or what, she just gave up on it. So is it really worth it, was my thing. but and I really took commerce, after not having any basic knowledge of 10th and 12th in commerce. I shifted to commerce. I went and joined a tuition where somebody could coach me on what they have done in 11th and 12th, and I completed my post graduation entire thing in commerce. And then post that, I also worked in many places for where I could do accounts and things like that. And then, but finally, I think somewhere what my father said was, my calling was in teaching, because I always liked teaching and having younger brothers and younger children in the family. And eventually, after marriage, I still took that path where after marriage I did my Montessori training and all in in a foreign country, and then I also worked there. So how your path goes, you don't know. But after I took up teaching, I recalled the moment when my father said, you could take MSc, you have such high scores in biology and all, people will give you admission just like that. If you go for a degree, you can do a PhD and you can teach, you can become a lecturer. All that came back to me, and I said, I wished I had that quality, that clarity at that time. 1 second, sorry. Yeah, so I thought that if I had the clarity at that time to probably put that whole situation aside, and if I really knew how to do it, because no matter who told me, it was not making a difference. It was like I had shut my mind. It was not like people were not talking to me, they were, but probably I was not there at all. I was not present there. Or maybe also it was a decision which was my my path was that, probably, and that's why my mind shut off and I didn't listen. That could also be the thing. So really, we don't know whether it's destiny or what, but I always think that probably that was my path. And what else can I say? And I
Yeah.
mean, I see, after taking commerce, then you couldn't probably graduate into a science stream, right? You had to finish it through, so I feel that life has its ways and it's this thing, and there is only certain thing like we can control. Because the marks that I got in physics, definitely my study was not so like that, and whoever heard that was really petrified that, oh my god, this girl got this much marks. So that was another take for me, like how people overnight change. Till now I have never got below grade, below 5th grade, 5 grades in a class, and now see how people are evaluating me. Such a big thing happened to somebody, and nobody is bothered about it, or nobody cares about it. She was my best friend. Nobody thought that what would this girl be going through. They're just judging me on how much marks I got in this and that and things like that. So that is the point where I thought that I would never do that to my child. Somewhere that thing kicked
Yeah.
into me, without, I mean, that's not an age where you're thinking about that, but I thought. So that could be my my conditioning, which I have extended to my child. I don't know that another parent might have had a different opinion of this thing. Because I feel that when Aditya was young, like, he would be very reluctant to write. And there were a lot of people in my family who would say that he should write from very young. But I was not somebody who would force him. I would just leave him, because I thought that it's not worth it. That was my thing. Like, don't put so
Going
much
back to
pressure
accepting,
that,
right?
yeah, he's why is he crying for something so small? Because everybody else is telling that he should write in this way, because other kids are writing in this way. So I put a stop to it very early on. I don't know if that is right or wrong, but that is part of what I am, I feel. So
Yeah.
I feel that there are only certain things that
Yeah.
we can control, and certain things are out of our control.
I'm
We
just
just go
trying
with the
to
flow.
yeah, I'm trying to not control anything
Ah.
other than myself.
Yeah. No,
And
the
the
reason
control
I
is
was
like
sharing
getting up.
this with you is
Yeah, yeah.
probably because I was a very good student. My father also did not think that, I am flunking or something, and at least he tried to understand. So that was one of the very good aspect of that. Suppose if my dad was really, no, you have to do it, and he would have forced me and done something, I don't know, the situation
Yeah.
would have been very different. My reaction probably would have been very different. And imagine if your family is also like that towards you, and then the rest of the world are anyway asking you like, what happened. So you might go into a totally different line. So I feel that that is something which we can offer our children selflessly. Yes, we have to push them, yes, we have to drive them, and we have to guide them, because they are on just beginning now. But I feel that even if they don't come up to that point, it is still okay, and we have to give them that kind
Accept and move on.
of assurance that you give your best, but it is still okay. Yeah, you are still accepted and you are loved as the way you are. This, it is not dependent on this. I think that is something which if we convey clearly, then no matter what, then I mean, see, everybody, I know that in my entire family, people who work have nothing to do with what they have studied academically. There is no relation whatsoever. Like my mom's elder sister, she's a gold medalist in chemistry BSc, but she's a Canara Bank manager, So there is nothing related to what she studied and what she does now full time. So I think it's very relative. And when we look at our children, I think again we close our door and we make it a very small world, I feel. So that is something which we can, at least let go of and not control so much. Yeah, but the gaming and other things, like you said, or addiction or that iPad and all that, I think that we should definitely stop. I am like I am on that totally, because I have seen many children in my son's class within a span of 6 months. Most of them are wearing spectacles,
So
and it's all thanks
I
to
have
this.
got
I feel.
I have got to a stage wherein like if their prarabdha karma is like they will get it. I'm not going to control anymore. I think I would rather I want to focus more on myself to see like how I can accept things as they are. Tell, but first of all, even like telling is like it's like when somebody is not asking you, you are telling, and like it has a very less effectiveness. Okay, but then like you can do. See again, when it comes to family, there comes this attachment. Right? That is the
Yeah,
reason you are
I
telling.
think Saravanan, when it comes to your family, I don't think you have to wait till somebody asks you. You can just say, that is where your freedom is also, I feel.
Yes, so I
Yeah.
think
So
we'll continue this. I think this has really gone much deeper.
Yeah.
But I saw that Priyaji wanted to say something. After that, we can conclude.
Yeah. Sorry, sir. We went off track a bit, I think.
Yeah, let me put one more point in this off track. Okay, see, like Saravanan, you are telling we can leave it, and why we should all the time like controlling or advising the thing, right? See, the best part of the teacher uh, being a parent and as well as a teacher, it makes a main impact on the child, I would like to say. As Padmaji told, I too had a great experience of the teacher, and as well as my today also some part I regret. I would have listened to my mother. I would have listened to my professors in my engineering. That I feel like my mother once I told you pursue your post graduation. I said no, I don't want to pursue. So that was the trend where people after their engineering they used to move to Bangalore and get the job. And meantime, after the result, I went to see my lectures. They told no, anyway you didn't get into the campus. 3 rounds of the final interview you get back. So we will advise you, you do your post graduation, will give you the job as well as post graduation also you can do. So I reluctantly told no, I don't want to study here. So and I just gave up the idea, and I didn't listen to my mother also, and I went to Bangalore, where I just worked for 1,600 rupees was my first job in CPRI. That is how I started. So today I think after so many experience, after working in many industries, today I think, see, education has got so much of impact. That day I would have listened to my mom. The same day I went to the college and my professors told, see, doing the higher education, and see, after doing everything again, finally I came to a point where I am teaching whatever the learned I have learned in my earlier days to the kids. So I tell, somewhere, some point we should listen to our parent. And see, that time they had the policy, let it go, let them understand, they will experience. But being a parent, advising them, yes, it may have, see, we don't know when they listen. If you keep on advising them, the other day your child may listen, yes, my whatever my father is telling, it's good, they may accept it, so it will have a good impact. And you and we and our child, both of will be satisfied with the action. So there is nothing wrong in giving advising them when it comes to their career or their studies, academics, and more than that, it's our prime duty. That is what I guess. And whatever it comes, we should tell that let it go policy will also should be there. We have to accept it as and when it comes. See, when I was small child, my father used to tell, you are so tall, don't wear skirts. Okay, I let it go, gave it up. So whenever it comes, when I was working for a big MNC, so I only made up my mind to give up my job and for the family. So again, it is let it go, this thing. So it is just accept it, whatever it comes. So then that churning in our mind, it will not be there, I feel. At least for time being, the things are going as the Padmaji said, no, 100%. Of course, if we will not be satisfied, let it 70 to 80%, whatever it is satisfying, it makes us happy. The entire that enjoying the moment, it will become happier. That is what I feel.
Okay.
That's it.
And yeah, the reason why I asked is just to wanted to see like how you're able to apply the learning on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
Like,
it's only experience. That's all, Saravanan. Just it's only the experience makes us. Here whatever we learn in other situation, we are applying the concepts and theory in other this thing. That's it. Only
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is enjoying, and we have to enjoy the each moment. And one more thing, no, most of the time we cannot express our ideas only, like being a parent, stick this thing driven will not be there. See, how my child was, the most of the time it will be, he'll be outside. Other parents used to ask me like, no, Priya, tomorrow Harikesh is my son, see, Hari has got maths exam, he's playing till 7 o'clock, he is not inside. How can you manage? Don't you tell anything. See, when he has completed the thing, I can't make him to shut down. If he plays for 3 hours, he will sit for studies for 2 hours. And this time I had a even more experience, like my son told, you don't come to me from this exam, I will study, so you just monitor. Again, it's a point of witnessing. So how I can convince him? I know he won't study. Even they give 1 week holiday, he don't study. So again, it's a compromising thing. How I did, you study. So whatever I'll do is I'll ask you only the questions. So again, like convincing him. Oh, he got convinced. One only thing is, you told you will ask me only the book back question. I told I don't want to ask you the book back question. And I had the entire chapter in mind. So what I did, I kept on asking the questions like quiz. So he too got satisfied, I too got satisfied. But I don't know what he has written in his answer paper. But at least it made me, yeah, without me, now he's becoming independent. Let me give him the chance. That is. And one more bad experience also I had with my daughter. Okay, see, till 10th standard, my girl is my first child. See, my experience is take out all the prints, make her to study, make out the plans. That is how I was making. For social studies, what happened is, for her pre-board exam, I had severe migraine. So even I couldn't get up, I cannot see anything. That was the situation that time. So now it is again get it go policy. It is not, the situation is not in my control. So she has to study on her own, and I have to, if I don't sleep, I can't get up. And tomorrow I have to take her to the examination. So the things are out of control. What I did, okay, you study. So the thing is, when she studied on her own, she got 90%. When I was teaching her, she got 80% in science. So it is accepting the things, right? So okay, let it go. The day I told, yeah, just I will ask you what you are studying. That day I left it. That day I left it. Yes, she is able to do it. Let me monitor. Monitor means we should have the control, leave control. That is only we can do once the age is done. Yes, it is working in my side. I don't know. So it is each individual opinion, and it varies with individual child to child. That is the thing. It's only the practical things how it works. Thank you.
Okay.
Sarvanji, I hope all these things will also give some more things for you to churn.
Yeah.
So I think the question fundamentally borders in the Atmano Mokshartham. Then comes there is a Jagaditaya cha.
Yes.
So Atmano Mokshartham, discrimination and all this is relatively easier for a analytical mind. Jagaditaya cha, how do I apply the Jagaditaya cha? What does it mean? This learning, witnessing, what does it mean when it comes to Jagaditaya cha? In that direction is where all our conversation centered today. So the intention of today's conversation, though, was to give what we have contemplated so far to Varunji. We kind of went to depth into one of the topic today. So hope Varunji, this has given some more clarity to whatever you've been also listening and reading. Is there something that you would like to share, Varunji?
No, Vijayji, I just want your concluding remarks, or maybe I'll summarize what you said.
Yeah, please.
That we can act from our conditioning, or we can take an informed decision by looking at having an open mind and looking at all the alternatives and understanding what is the right thing or the wrong thing. Looking at what is happening and seeing if it's going to end up in a destructive result or constructive, and act, and that will automatically, naturally come to us, and that is when we act, versus us acting from our conditioning. So that is the distinction, right?
Yeah. So the more I become a witness means what? The more I become tuned to the universal laws of life, universal ways of doing how the life works. Existence has no biases. Existence has no judgments. In existence, things happen according to a certain natural law. So being a witness means that I am tuned to that natural law. So whatever action that comes out of that natural tuning will be dharmic. So therefore, witnessing really means I become more and more tuned to natural ways of acting, natural ways how life functions. So therefore, I have to continue to act. I cannot take a neutral state. Let whatever happen, I'll only control my thoughts. What are my thoughts really fundamentally? My thoughts are nothing but reactions that are happening to the impressions that are coming into my mind. So therefore, I am not separate from what is happening. So it's all connected. So therefore, in that connectedness, how can the action happen? When the action is in tune with the natural laws, dharma, then that will not leave any residue, that will not leave any kind of worries, that will not leave any judgment, because the action has been in tune with natural laws. When you're hungry and when you go put a apple into your mouth, you don't worry about it. I have caused the destruction of apple. It is natural. That will not become too much of a botheration. So whatever is natural will not leave too much of impressions in the mind. So witness consciousness in terms of our actions in the world has to be towards, is my mind getting more and more tuned towards natural laws? And how can I know that? The action that I perform leaves no further too much of baggage. It leaves me free. It makes me feel light. It makes me feel peaceful, truly happy. So these are all the signals I need to be looking at. So when I kill something, am I feeling guilty? Then it must be something not in tune with the natural laws. So I have to become more and more tuned to that kind of a way of functioning. It is still a functioning, there's still an action, but that is more now in tune with the natural laws. So that's why in Gita or wherever, Krishna again and again reminds us dharma, adharma, dharma, adharma, and yajna. So therefore, in yajna means what? Offering. What are you offering? Your actions. For whose benefit? For the benefit of the whole, not for my own benefit. So when that feeling gets deeply impregnated, and that becomes a natural way of functioning, then the friction starts reducing. When the friction is no more there, then the action is very light. Then the action is very natural. When let's say big there's a tall, let's say, coconut tree, and the coconut falls from the tree, and there is somebody below that, and it falls on their head and they die. Now, should the coconut tree be worried that I've been responsible for a destructive action? So when it is natural law and when it is natural action, there is no more friction. So that's the summary, Varunji. Is it making sense? Today's our whole conversation, whatever we have discussed, is it all connected to whatever you have been studying so far? Is it all kind of making sense to you?
Yeah, it's definitely. All these experiences shared by people, yeah, that gives a real touch to the teaching. It's not just theory. We are listening to the experiences and are able to relate with the experiences and actually see where we can apply. How can we apply? What is the challenge in applying this?
Yeah.
Being a witness.
Yeah.
It definitely helped.
Wonderful. All right, so it's probably something that needs a little bit more going deeper. I can see it from Saravananji's expressions, but I have to stop it here, unfortunately, Saravananji, because
Yes.
there is a Gita competition at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Sure.
And I also see that Prakashji has been completely quiet today. Prakashji, was it? Is it because you did not have anything to contribute, or were you just listening to everyone? Okay, or maybe there is an internet issue also. All right, Priyaji, can you please take us through the conclusion prayers?
Right seeking. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Om, lead me from untruth, ignorance to truth, darkness to light, impermanence to permanence. Next.
See, why we are ending our session with this prayer is, in all situations, this should be our way of life. What is the truth in this given situation?
Self is the whole. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Om, that is complete. This is complete. When completeness is removed from completeness, what remains is complete. When completeness is added to completeness, totality remains complete. Om, peace, peace, peace. Who am I? Nanu, nanembudu, nanalla. ಈ ದೇಹ ಮನಬುದ್ಧಿ ನಾನಲ್ಲ, ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಾತ್ಮ ಶಿವ ನಾನು ನಾನೇ. ಶಿವೋಹಂ ಶಿವೋಹಂ ಶಿವೋಹಂ. I am not the body, mind, intellect. I am pure consciousness, Shiva Swarupi. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamrutat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamrutat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamrutat. We worship the three-eyed one who is fragrant and who nourishes all. Like the fruit falls off from the bondage of the stem, may we be liberated from death, from mortality. Lokaha samastaha sukino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukino bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, and peaceful. Hari Om. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Priyaji. Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Vijayji. Thank
Hari
you
Om.
all. Hari Om.
See you all next Sunday morning. Hari Om.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om,
Hari
sir.
Om.
Hari
Sir,
Om.
can you give me just 1 minute?
Yes, Padmaji.